Okay, welcome to episode 9, Wulfie's Skype sessions. This is Randy, and today we are talking with Mr. Jeff Plate, who, his credentials definitely speak for themselves. Savatage, Tran, Siberian Orchestra, Metal Church, which I have actually seen you in Metal Church fairly recently. Montage, I think it was 2016 in Rochester. Which was
very nice.
Stunning.
Yes. So that was that when Mike
What's
came
that?
back? Was that when Mike Howe was back with us?
That was the return of Mike.
Yeah.
It was great. And I gotta say, it's like that was meet and greet done right, because if you bought a ticket, you were in for a signing and a photo, and that was awesome. That it was set up like that, because it's like not everybody can afford VIP packages and this and that, and
No, we get it. I mean, having contact with the fans is so critical. And I mean, it's a band like Metal Church, who, at our core, we were really a bunch of nice, fun, likable guys. So it was always kind of a pleasure for us to chat with the fans and this and that. But it's just one of those things. It is the easiest thing any band can do. Shake somebody's hand, take a picture, sign your name on anything. People love that, and it just goes so far in endearing yourself to people. And a band like Metal Church that's been around since the mid '80s.
Yep.
You figure if these people have been sticking it out this long and supporting this band, that's the least you can do. And but anyhow, the guys were always very, very good about that. And
Yep.
in that period there, when Mike returned to the band, that was exciting. That was a lot of fun. It was really nice to have Mike fronting the band again. Kurt was really excited about it, and XI I thought was a great record. The record was great. The tour was great, and we had a really good turnout wherever we played.
I believe it sold out the night of the show. It was like we were. I remember Randy was, keeping tabs, and I'm pretty sure he had said that show had sold out, and it was a packed house, and it was a great time.
Yep, that was really good. And Chris Caffrey was, I believe, Chris was playing guitar with us, because our guitarist Rick Van Zant in Metal Church, he had a detached retina, and we ran into this. We were supposed to do a Monsters of Rock cruise, and we were actually rehearsing for the cruise. And Rick woke up in the morning. It was like, he's not seeing double; he's seeing like 4. And
wow!
Oh my God! So he had to go like emergency surgery. We had to have a fill-in for the cruise, and then Chris came on board for that leg of the tour. And Chris did a great job. I mean, Chris and I we've been joined at the hip since 1995 with Savatage, with TSL. He was the perfect fill-in for that tour, and boy, we had a blast. That was a really good time.
Yes, it was. But yes, we're really not here to talk about Metal Church though today, because you do have a new project, a new album, Alta Reign, Mother's Day, out now, I think, or is it?
Yeah, it was released January 8th. It's been out. It's been out a couple months now.
Sometimes I lose track of like release dates, and
sure.
But
so
yeah, having listened to some tracks here, thanks to some computer issues, I haven't been able to hear the whole album yet. But I've been on YouTube and I've checked out some stuff, and a lot of it to me, it's got kind of like a nice vintage retro. I think I told our main host that it kind of reminds me of, like, if Boston and Asia, and I can't remember what else, Triumph maybe, if they had a baby, that it would be Alta Reign, because I could hear elements from each of those, the production, the melodies. I actually really dig it, just because it does kind of have a old school vibe to my ears anyway.
Well, thank you very much. It's interesting how many different bands have that we've been referred to or referenced. You know what I mean? This is the first time somebody's mentioned Boston, but it's funny when Alta Reign first came out, a lot of Yes comparisons. And at first, I was kind of taken back by it at first, but I was like, God, you know what? I guess the vocals really do have that '70s John Anderson type of vibe to it. Triumph, I've heard a couple times. God, I've heard everything from Disturbed to Ghost to Dream Theater to Asia to Yes to all over the place. But hey, you know what? I'll take those. That's a nice compliment and nice company to be in. But the album itself, I mean, with going into this and not really thinking of we want to sound like this or that, it really kind of just happened organically. It started with some riffs that I had on cassette tapes from literally 30 years ago, from when I used to live in Boston with my late guitar friend Matt Leff. We had some stuff that was just never used, ideas that were never finished, and this is where Alta Reign began. Was some of these old riffs, and I got together with a local guitar player here named Tommy Cook, and we just started banging some of this stuff out. And once I recruited the other members of the band, everything just really kind of developed and came together. And we have a sound. I think Alta Reign certainly sounds. It may sound like a lot of things, but it sounds original at the same time.
It also has an identity. It does.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's interesting. I'm for people that don't know, I'm literally right down the road from you. I'm upstate New York. You're up in Seneca Falls. Yeah. The majority of the band, I mentioned Tommy Cook on guitar and vocals. My bass player, Kevin McCarthy, lead vocalist Colin Holloway, and keyboardist Zach Hamilton are all from my town of Horseheads. We're all right here local.
Yeah, I'm actually familiar with the area. I mean, I think I'd mentioned to you that I'd been to a couple shows at Tags. Mm-hmm. So they some good lineups down there. But I've also got family down in like the Berkshire area, so I'm familiar with the region.
Sure. So these are guys. I mean, Tommy and Kevin I've known since the '80s. And Colin and Zach were a couple guys that I was actually doing a cover band with. And, when COVID came around, it obviously knocked out the live music scene. And we had already started work on Alta Reign. This was, probably mid 2019 is when we really started getting this thing together. When COVID came around last year, obviously it shut everything down. So, we decided to let's just focus on this project. Let's make this record as good as we can. So along with that, I recruited a friend of mine, Jane Mangini, keyboards. She has been a member of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra for close to 20 years. Right. And she, it's like with TSO. Every time we go for rehearsals, there's so many of us. Everybody always talks about, we should get together and do a project. We should do this. We should do that. Well, anyhow, I had a number of songs demoed up, and I sent Jane a couple of them, and she absolutely loved it. And she was the last piece to the puzzle. Her keyboard work, her sounds, her approach to this really just it took Alta Reign from a guitar-driven hard rock metal band into a more progressive vibe. And also commercial, I think, very melodic. The music in general, I mean, just the basis of the songs were all very melodic. I mean, vocally, we really had some great melodies. The guys all sing great together. So that was fairly well established. But what Jane brought to the band really expanded our sound. I dare say it made us heavier in some places. But her keyboard work, her piano playing especially, is just fantastic. It really was the finishing touch to the band.
Good deal. So, I mean, COVID being what it is there any current plans to take this on the road or at least do limited shows? I know our governor has recently Hi, here, you go down here. Good girl. Increased our, I guess, capacity upcoming shows to like 25%, I think.
Hmm.
So I just got a curiosity, are there any plans?
Well, ideally, I would love to take this out live. Um, I think we're a ways away from that, as far as Alta Reign is concerned. It was funny you mentioned tags. I was just talking with him the other day about this, and yeah, he mentioned the 25%
Yep,
capacity figure, and hopefully that's going to improve as things go along. If everybody would just behave and stick to the program, we'll get out of this sooner than later.
exactly.
Um, but as far as Alta Reign is concerned, I and here again, I'm a member of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, one of the largest touring groups in America. We got
Oh,
shut down last year. Our future this year is not even certain. So there is so many bands. Everybody and their brother has been sitting and waiting for things to open up. The rush for live music is probably going to be pretty intense when it happens. I don't know how Alta Reign is going to fit into that, but when we have a chance to do something, we will figure it out. I just really think that this music live is really going to kick ass. The band is very good. Everybody's on their game, and so we'll keep our fingers crossed. In the meantime, we are starting to work on the second record. And my plan is let's just move forward with writing and recording Alta Reign #2. And when the live thing comes around, we will deal with that as it comes. But
good.
if we get another strong record out there, it's just going to add to our credibility, add to our worth, and hopefully it'll put us in a position where we can get on a good tour, or at least maybe get some good local shows ourselves.
All right. Well, I know if I don't ask something about this, there might be some people who will hang me up by my toes. And recently, John from Savatage posted some news that has the metal community pretty much rejoicing.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your take on, are you looking forward? Are you gearing up for, doing something more with Savatage? Or, I mean, are you even, I mean, knowing that you're not the only drummer that has played with them, I guess it's like, is it premature to say that you would be involved with this, or?
If something happens, I will definitely be involved.
Okay.
This is such a it's the $1 million question, right?
Yep.
I tell you, it's to me, I find it fascinating that Savatage, the last time we've actually done a real tour was 2002, almost
Yep.
20
Years.
years ago. And the fact that the fan base is still
Rapidly.
clamor,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
clamoring for this band. Whenever there's some news about something, people start talking about this and that. So this is what's going on. So we lost Paul O'Neill 4 years ago. Um, the Savatage question has always been there. We've never officially announced that we've broken up. Um, we are all still actively working together in the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So this is our main focus. This is my career. TSO is,
Right.
and this is obviously our main focus. So there's always been this lingering question about Savatage. Now we did the show at Vakken in 2015, which went
Yep.
off extremely well. That was very, very cool. But losing Paul really threw a wrench into everything.
Yes.
And right now our main focus is to really get the Trans-Siberian Orchestra situation back on track.
Yep.
Obviously, the live tour is something that it's set up so well. We've got great management in production. The people behind that they've been here for so long. Everybody knows what their job is, including the band. Myself, I've been here from the beginning of it. Same with Caffrey. We all know what our job is, and it's a matter of let's go out there and do these shows the way we've always done them. Total respect for Paul. Let's keep this thing going. Um, But there has also been a lot of unfinished music. There's a lot of stuff in the studio that Paul was working on in reference to TSO. This is really where, our heads are at kind of right now. And John has been in the studio working on some of this music along with Al Petrelli. Uh, I know
Nice.
they've been auditioning singers for some certain parts and certain this and that.
Mm.
Now, John is always writing something. So is he writing for TSO? Is he writing for Savatage? Is he writing for his own solo work? I really don't know. But I do
Right.
know that the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, this really is front and center as far as what is going to be next.
Very cool.
And, and this, like I said, this is just something where there's a lot of Paul's work that wasn't finished. And we would love to be able to finish that, keep his legacy going. Keep TSO fresh, keep coming out with new material, and keep that going on. But hey, man, the Savatage situation, I tell you, I'm very, very proud of the fact that we've, that the fan base is still with us after all this time. And I mean, it makes me feel good in knowing that, wow, we must have done something good. We must have done something right, because Savatage, even when I joined the band in 1994.
Yeah.
Had been through so much crap. I mean, they literally almost broke up in the mid 80s, and then Paul O'Neill came in.
Right.
They did Hall of the Mountain King, and next thing you know, Savatage is like, yeah, amazing band. Chris Oliva, Doc Wackholz, Johnny Middleton, and Oliva. That lineup was great. Gutter Ballet was fantastic. Streets,
Yep.
And then obviously John Oliva steps down, and at that point they could have called it quits again, but they didn't. They brought in a new singer who was Zach Stevens,
Yep.
who I was working with in Boston, and then they lost Chris Oliva. Another really good reason to shut the thing down. And Paul,
harsh blow.
Oh my God! And Chris Chris Oliva was a fantastic metal guitar player. I never met Chris. I wish I could have at least have met him. I would love to have been able to play in the band with him, but it wasn't to be. But anyhow, Paul and John decided to keep the band going, and that's really how I entered the picture.
Right.
Steve Wackholz left the band. I remember the first tour. Johnny Middleton, who had been playing with Chris Oliva for years. I mean, this was very, very tough on these guys. I was surprised we even made it through the first tour. I was so thrilled to be there. I finally got this great gig playing in this awesome band, and I fit in so well with them. But I remember being on that tour, and the vibe was it was very strange. I felt terrible for the guys. I really did. But you know what? They stuck through it. And the next thing you know, the band reforms again for the Dead Winter Dead album. Chris Caffrey comes in. Al Petrelli comes in. Dead Winter Dead is the record that we do with that lineup. Christmas Eve Sarajevo is the song that all of a sudden takes off and becomes TSO. It's like so many things happened around Savatage. Lineup changes, tragedies, you name it. A dozen different reasons that the band should not even exist anymore, legitimately. But we stuck through it. But I'll tell you what, every lineup that we had that I was in the band with was very good. And a lot of that goes to the quality of the songs. Savatage just has such a great repertoire of songs. From metal to ballads to progressive stuff. It's just awesome music, and really the stepping stone to what Trans-Siberian Orchestra became. So, but I'm very proud to hear how people are anxious to see the band again, and are really hoping for it. Hey, I hope so too. I keep my fingers crossed, but I also know the reality of the situation, and I've also I've also learned not to bank on anything. It's like things can happen so quickly and take a turn left or right, whatever. So
The hat for sure.
Yes, exactly. But in the meantime, like I said, all the guys in Savatage, we're all still working together in TSO, and it's really a cool thing. So if something else comes along on the Savatage end of thing, that's just icing on the cake. And hey, keep my fingers crossed. Let's hope it happens.
You know, it's like you mentioned the show at Blocken a few years back, and I remember it's like I wish, because you know you can see on YouTube there's like a video that shows a good portion of the show from both ends. And it's like what I keep holding out for is like I would, you know, it's like I would love to see like a DVD, Blu-ray, you know, um, CD combo of anything, you know,
Yeah,
that they're just what we saw from that performance was just amazing. You know,
it
both bands,
was.
separate stages, and oh my God, just I wish I had been there. I really.
I tell you, man, it was one for the ages. This was a dream of Paul O'Neill. And for people that don't know, when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra tours in the winter, we have two groups. We have an East Coast and a
Yep.
West Coast. We excuse me. We have this lucky lucky problem that we have more shows than we do days. And I mean, as it is, each group plays 8 shows in 5 days every week.
Yep.
It is quite a grind, but it's just awesome. Um, Paul's dream was to have both groups performing together at one time, and we had always thought that that was, kind of crazy. It's like how are you ever going to pull that off? Well, he figured out a way, and the people at Vakken agreed to do this. Obviously Savatage was a part of that.
Yep.
The technical aspect of pulling that show off is really the guys in that crew, in our production crew. They are the stars of that show because they came up with a monitoring system. They came up with a way that both bands were actually playing together, listening to each other, feeding off of the same. It was just amazing how the whole thing went down. And if
Those are
you were,
aspects that you don't necessarily think about when you're, it's like, and I never thought of that until you mentioned it. Like, yeah, everybody has to be able to hear certain, and that's amazing.
it was amazing, all right. And all it was going to take was one monitor send to go down or something, and this thing could have been a train wreck. But it that went off without a hitch. Um, if you were lucky enough to be at that show, you were enduring probably 3 days of torrential rain. There had to be at least 8 inches, 9 inches of mud out in the main area where the fans were.
Yep.
But still, 80,000 people out there, and they saw a show like no other. And it's the first time it's ever been done. I don't think it will ever happen again. But I'll tell you,
It's
from a musician, from a band member standpoint, I was relieved when the thing was over because it was like, my God, we did it. We pulled this off. Paul was so thrilled. I was so happy for him. But
very
yeah,
cool.
it was something else. It was something else.
So I guess I got one more thing here for you, and
Okay.
I talked this out to one of the guys in Cannibal Corpse a couple episodes back, and I'm going to ask you, it's like, what's the best advice you've received over the years that you still stand by?
Oh man. Be on time, be prepared, do your job. It's interesting. I teach drums, and I deal with a lot of young kids,
Mm-hmm.
and and then young bands or young musicians will kind of ask me, you got to do this because you love to do it. Music is just something. There's nothing more satisfying than playing an instrument and playing it well, and then being in a band that plays well, and then getting in front of people and having them enjoy what you do, whether it's playing a cover song, whatever. But if you're lucky enough to be in an original project and you are playing music that you wrote to people and they are loving it, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that in the world. You mentioned Vakken. Playing in front of an audience of 80,000 people,
Yeah.
there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. But I'll tell you, part of my journey was I lived in Boston for 10 years. This is where I met Zach Stevens. I already mentioned Matt Leff, the guitarist.
Right.
We had a band out there called Wicked Witch. We busted our tail trying to get the band signed, trying to make something happen. And it didn't work. Zach ended up singing for Savatage.
Yep.
I literally thought my music career at that point it was time for me to rethink what I was doing. And this is why I moved back to upstate New York. But then when I got the call from Zach and he said, John and Paul really like your drumming and they want you to come down and join Savatage, I was just like, man, this is it. So when I showed up to work with Savatage, it was like, this music inside and out. You show up on time. Yes, sir. No, sir. You keep your mouth shut. Don't give them a reason to doubt you or to let you go. I knew that this could be my one and only chance to be part of something like this. And that's how I approached it. And that's how I still approach, everything that I do. You gotta be prepared. You gotta be on time. You gotta have respect for your fellow musicians. And then honestly, the people that are out there buying your music and buying tickets to come see you play, man, you got to go out there and play your best for them. That's really what it's all about. So, but in reference to advice, all of the above, but mainly respect yourself. Do it because you love it. Put the work in, and you know what? If the big gig never comes along, that doesn't mean that you're not going to play music again. You might have to rethink, how you're going to do it. But there's so many ways to play an instrument, to play in a band, and have fun with it. So it's all good, whatever capacity you do it in.
Good deal. So once again, take a peek. Alta Reign. Album's name is Mother's Day. Available now. Absolutely check it out. It's just a great prog rock package. It's like I actually, what I have heard so far, I enjoy a lot, and I'll be looking into more. But yes, let's say I got to run down the MetallicOnslaught.com for all your Metallic Onslaught needs. Check us out on Facebook. Check me out on YouTube at Randy Metalwulf. And this was episode 9. Jeff Plate, thank you very much for taking the time.
You bet.
Road here soon.
That would be nice. And yeah, if you ever want to chat again, once you dig into the album a little bit more, if you'd like to talk more, just let me know. I'm always game.
And you're close by. If we get to a point where it all depends on the person. Where we go to record, it's a private residence, and while COVID's going, he's a little hesitant about having guests. But you're close enough. If you ever wanted to drop in, consider this an open invitation, dude. Like Horseheads isn't that far from
Nope.
In Ovid.
We literally were just driving up through there this weekend, and hey, it's a beautiful road trip. So yeah, you just let me know. We'll figure it out.
In the Finger Lakes, man.
Yep, it's awesome.
Not much in the winter, but this time of year, up into fall, it's all cake.
Yep, exactly.
All right,
awesome, man.
Yes, thank you once again, and we'll be talking to you later.
You got it. Thanks for having me. Take care.
You too.